It's 6 o'clock. It's time for the City Council meeting, October 23rd, 2023. I will call forward Larry Campbell. He's with Victory Baptist, and he will lead us in a prayer.
Let's all pray together. Father God, we thank you so much for the opportunity to come together tonight. And Lord, we pray that as everything that goes on here tonight during all these proceedings, that you would just guide and direct everything that goes on here. It would all give you honor and glory. We pray for the mayor and all the council members, Lord. We pray that as they serve the people of Sherwood, that they would do so with wisdom and humility. God, we pray that everything that goes on here tonight would just be in accordance with your will and with your word. Lord, we pray that you would have your hand upon all of it. Lord, we thank you so much for Sherwood. What a wonderful community it is. For all the people of Sherwood, we pray, God, that you would just bless each and every one. And we pray that you would bless everything that goes on here tonight. We ask it in Jesus' holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Brooks.
Here.
Harmon.
Here.
Lilly.
Here.
Sanders.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Broderick.
Here.
Thomas.
Present.
Wade.
Here.
We have the approval of the minutes of the regular scheduled meeting on September 25th, 2023, as transcribed. Are there any changes or corrections?
Move for adoption.
Second.
Lilly.
Aye.
Thomas.
Present.
Sanders. Sanders. Broderick.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Wade.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Just to remind all the council members, we have a new sound system. So as Councilmember Harmon said last month, where he felt like he had to eat the microphone, you don't have to eat the microphone anymore. You can tell it's a lot louder, but you do need to, push in that button. It will light up, and then you are live. Okay? All right, September financials of 2023. Any questions?
Just a comment, Mayor, can we? Looking from last year, one of the things I mentioned to the mayor today, and I think we all agreed, we want to make sure in our future budgets that we're having the overtime line in there. And in looking back at last year's minutes, it was recommended. We never made a motion. But do we need to make a motion for that, or just it's going to happen from now on, starting in January? So just a little glitch.
That is our hope. So in order for that to have been done for this year, it would have had to have been set up that way. And we didn't have our finance director on board at that time. And so therefore, because that's something that has to therefore be tracked throughout. But we will certainly do our best in order to have that. If for some reason we can't, we'll make sure that you all know and know why. Okay?
Thank you.
We have a lot of comments again today, people who'd like to speak about the management of real property. Do we have a motion to suspend the rules to move that up on the agenda so that those who are here can leave, or we can leave it as is? What's the pleasure of the council?
I move we move it up.
Second.
Lilly.
Aye.
Thomas. Sanders.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Wade.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
All right, I'm going to at this time turn it over to our city attorney and
You want to read it one time, maybe the second reading?
sure. We are going to be dealing with an ordinance establishing policies regarding the management of real property owned by the city of Sherwood, Arkansas, as amended, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. This is the second reading. We will then be calling up, our city attorney will be calling up the people who have signed up to speak about it.
Okay. Got it?
You're on.
Okay. Please remember that keep your comments limited to 3 minutes. First tonight is Mr. Anthony Brown.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Brown, 9105 Jacksonville Cato Road. I was here last month, and one thing I want to make clear before, I say anything else, the people in this audience are not stupid. We understand more than one-line sentences. I'm pretty sure there's people out here with college educations. We understand contracts. We know how things work. So I think I can speak for, several that's not appreciated. You don't want to be badgered, we're not going to be badgered. All right, moving on. So, I think it was Ms. Williams pointed out last month, powers of the city council generally. The city council shall have the management and control of finances and of real and personal property belonging to the corporation. I asked a question last month of the 4 council members who sponsored this ordinance. All 4 of you know who they are. Well, I would also like, to go ahead and read the very next line down. The city council shall provide the times and places of holding its meetings, which shall at all times be open to the public. You say we want to, push this ordinance to be in accordance with law. We're not going to pick and choose what laws we're going to be in. So I took it a step further. If you flip over to, let's see, what is this? Chapter 54, subchapter 3, real and personal property. If you skim that, that entire subchapter, it's not very long. At no point in this subchapter does it mention city council. At no point does it mention it takes city council's approval to change the color of a wall. At no point does it mention it takes city council's approval to add some more bushes to the flower bed. That is nitpicking, and that is trying to take away the control of the mayor.
You have 30 seconds, sir.
All right. The city council does have control of the property. That is done in ordinances, not permission slips. This ordinance needs to go away. It's hindering the city and it's hurting the citizens. Thank you.
If we could please control, let's not have any clapping after speakers and just let the next one come up, no matter what is said. All right, thank you.
Gloria Lawrence. And after Ms. Lawrence, Mr. Cunningham, if you can be in position.
I was here last month also, and I have thought about this long and hard. All of a sudden, last year, our city council went from working together to throwing trash at each other just because they didn't like who was running for mayor. They approved. They let people say things that it should have never been brought out about anybody's past or present. That's not how the city of Sherwood works. The residents spoke. They want to change. They want city to change. I want to see grocery stores. I want to see nice restaurants. My husband and I should not have to leave Sherwood to go to a nice restaurant to sit down and have a meal. People need grocery stores. I need another choice besides Walmart. I don't like going in Walmart. We need to take care of our city. Y'all won't even give our mayor a chance. You're mad, you're angry because Hillman Young's not still sitting there. and it's time to get over this childish behavior. Alderman Broderick, last month you complained about all the phone calls you got. You get paid to take those phone calls. If you don't want them, if y'all don't want to work with the mayor at all, resign. Somebody else will come into your spots. Somebody that does want to better our city. This is a nitpicking ordinance that has not ever been in place, and it should not be in place now.
James Cunningham?
I'm a resident at 604 Indian Bay Drive, and I've followed our mayor's activity before she was elected and was particularly impressed with the transparency of her administration. I've been pleased with all of her actions. I think the mayor needs support, and we don't need her work to be tied up by a bunch of part-timers. I understand the rest of the council are part-time workers, and the mayor's full-time. I think she needs that work, and you don't.
Meredith Townsend?
I'm Meredith Townsend. I live at 6849 Austin Harbor Loop. Some of you may know me as a lifelong resident of Sherwood, or a devoted volunteer for 14 years within our school system, or the person that ran for city council last year, or the person who delivered 2,900 meals and organized 325 volunteers over a 3-week time period after the March 31st tornado. Some of you simply know me as Tory Best Mom, and some of you may not even know me at all. But I'm here today to make a few comments, one specifically for item number 7 on the agenda. You heard from many residents at the last city council meeting that are opposed to this ordinance, and from several council members who would not vote for something that would limit the power of mayor, which, regardless as to how some of you see it, is exactly that. Current projects since January 1 have been discussed multiple times at the committee level and at city council meetings. For some of you to say that you do not know what's going on, I feel that is a lack of effort on your part. While clarifying questions have been asked, there has not once been a formal objection this year from anyone. If you know anything about me, you know that I do not make random comments publicly or on social media regarding what is happening in this city, unless I have done my own personal research. As a friendly reminder, I am still waiting for a response from several of you on my FOIA request regarding this exact issue that was made at the end of September. Many of you have said that you've heard from lots of people in your ward that are for this ordinance. I wanted to see for myself, and I did my own survey. I reached out to 3,300 registered voters in the city of Sherwood, 10% of the total population, 825 in each ward. And with that, I was able to speak to 1,002 of them. Even with that small number, it is very clear that this city council is not communicating with the people who voted to put you in those seats. And some of your representatives don't even know who you are. So as you sit here making decisions for the people in which you represent, I want to remind you that it is your job to put your personal feelings aside and do what is in the best interest of the majority of the people within your respective wards. I believe Councilmember Harmon said it best last month. Procedures are already in place and have been proven to work. The current mayor was elected for her vision of the city of Sherwood. This includes upgrades to our parks, street improvements, and city art. And if you haven't noticed, that is exactly what's been happening. Saying yes to this ordinance as written is telling the majority that their vote does not matter. I urge you to scrap this ordinance in its entirety and encourage you to stop the witch hunt and get to a place where this entire council can work together for the betterment of the city of Sherwood and do things in accordance of what the majority of this community wants, rather than continue to listen to a very loud minority. Because frankly, the residents in this small town are tired of this nonsense. Thank you.
Mike Corker, I'm sorry, I mispronounced it.
Good job.
Sorry.
Easy to get called Corker or Coker or any other number of things. I am not an opponent of the mayor. I actually voted for the mayor twice. I do not have a sign that says I support the mayor. That's obvious. I'm a citizen of Sherwood. I wish the mayor the best. I wish the council the best. I'm sick of the divisiveness. whether it comes from the council, whether it comes from the mayor, where it comes from me. I own some of it because some of the things I've been told are half-truths or I didn't get the whole story. And I know that that's my fault. The ordinance itself really just echoes what the state law is. And I think it's, Harmon mentioned last time, well, we've kind of always done it this way. It's always worked. Well, we obviously found a spot where it didn't work with an unnamed restaurant, and that's still ongoing. I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to try to say is we're all members of a great community. I look and I see, I support the mayor. I support the mayor too. I'm not here to bash the mayor. I'm here to say, look, guys, there's got to be a way to compromise, because that's the art of politics, correct? There ought to be a way to compromise that the mayor doesn't have to come to the council to have a wall painted. I agree with that. I think that's ridiculous. However, I do think that the council does have to have something that states that it follows the state law. You can write whatever you want to write. The state law supersedes everything. It is the law. I read it last night 4 times. It's very unambiguous. So my point is, we have so many bigger things to tackle. We have Gravel Ridge out here that Virginia annexed, that we really don't have, as far as I know, really a plan for, that, in my view, probably would be the center of town in 10 years, Mayor. It would be our gold mine. So I am here to
You
support.
have 30 seconds, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you. I am here to support the law. The law is very clear and unambiguous. The city council shall have, not may, not this or that, shall have responsibility. Now, should the mayor have to go to have a plant planted? No, she shouldn't. So I would ask the council, and maybe Charlie has something, maybe there's an amendment that can be made to give the
Your time
mayor
has
some
expired, sir.
latitude.
Your time has expired.
Okay, to give the mayor some latitude to operate the city without having to come on every little thing. Thank you.
Buddy Fisher, Mr. Fisher.
Thank you for allowing me to, I'm not that tall. I live at 8949 Meadow Garden Circle, by the way, so yes, I'm a resident of Sherwood, 8 years. Have a granddaughter that lives here, love of my life. Anyway, okay, so first of all, this does not echo the state law. I don't care if you read it 40 times. Okay, so it says that the city council can do this. It doesn't say they should or they shall. Okay, so let's just clarify all that, right? Okay, so just be quiet over there. Nobody interrupted you. Can y'all, now do I get another 30 seconds since I get interrupted?
Please continue.
Okay. Okay, so when we elected Mary Jo as our mayor, she was very clear when she was running what her vision was, and that's why she was overwhelmingly, resoundingly elected. Come on, everybody knows that. Okay, and so, frankly, Sherwood was tired of the Peyton Place politics that was under the last administration, and now we have a city council that's wanting to play Peyton Place politics with this ordinance, which is, as it's been pointed out, nonsense. Okay, so we elected our mayor to do a job, and she's doing her job. But now we have a city council that wants to play politics, and someone in the last meeting said this wasn't personal. Well, it's very personal because, let's just say, and I'll address my representative, Mr. Wade over there, who asked for my vote, and I voted for him. He said, I said, we were in a restaurant, and this was before the election, of course. And I said, we're very big Mary Jo supporters. We just want to know where you stand. And I couldn't get a straight answer. Well, now I know why I couldn't get a straight answer. So again, it's very personal. So when y'all want to sit up here and act like this isn't personal, it's personal because the city of this city elected her overwhelmingly, not once, but twice. And we just want to let her do her job. So we're asking y'all to abandon this notion of number 7, and let's get on with the city business that we elected the mayor to do.
You have 30
and
seconds, sir.
Okay, thank you. And so we would appreciate y'all taking that into consideration, because again, as the lady pointed out, I don't know where she is, right there. I promise you, if you want to do a poll of your constituents, I promise you, the majority of your constituents is not up for this nonsense. I promise you. Go door to door and knock on your doors and ask the people in your district if they're for it. I guarantee you they're not.
Your time has expired, sir.
Okay, so thank you for allowing me to speak.
Linda Gunn.
My name is Linda Gunn. I live at 18 Club Circle, Sherwood. I am for this ordinance, and because I have such a short time to express my support of this, I want to talk about what I have seen recently versus my work experiences. In my 37 years of living in Sherwood, elected city officials come and go. Council member April Broderick, her intent with this ordinance is to actually protect the mayor, not limit her, and to protect the council and the city and establish a process for now and future lease agreements. For over 25 years, I worked with large sums of public money, and I was always involved in a bid process. Our agency had rules and procedures to create a fair and honest process for all participants in the bid process, and as employees, we did not cross these lines because they were understood and they were written. When I started looking at the bid process that was utilized in Sherwood, and I wish we had time to tell you some of the things that we've seen, I was actually stunned. The procedure was running contrary to everything that I knew to be included in good faith and a fair process. I'm very supportive of this ordinance because it is starting to correct some city business behavior, and it's really not the fault of anyone. Sometimes you honestly don't know. And this is the reason that our city procedures should be documented. Other cities have procedures and rules that are documented, and so should Sherwood, because Sherwood is a great city. I've lived here for 37 years. And I thank you for consideration of my support for this ordinance, not to punish the mayor, not to limit the mayor, but for now and for the future so that we will know what the process is and that it will be fair for all of the participants that are involved in a lease agreement. Thank you.
Doris Anderson.
Each elected official, I'm Doris Anderson, 2507 Bearskin Drive here in Sherwood. Each elected official sitting in these seats took an oath of office. You swore to obey the Constitution of the state of Arkansas, the United States, uphold the laws in the state of Arkansas, follow the laws of Arkansas, and to the best of your ability, take care of the problems and the issues that faced you as an elected official. Some of you have failed in that instance miserably. You know who you are. You openly admitted to illegal meetings. You failed to comply with laws. You know they're laws. You don't care that they're laws. You want to not bother with those laws. They still exist. They are state law for everybody in this state to follow, every elected official in the state of Arkansas to follow. You don't get to pick and choose which laws you want to follow. The law is the law. It's not that hard. This ordinance tries to limit the mayor in the amount of money that she is able to spend without city approval. But 2 years ago, you voted to follow state law and increase the expenditures to $35,000. Two of you sitting right there in front of me. Did you forget that you passed that ordinance? Just
Please.
wondering. We really need to get this city back on track. Y'all need to be doing your job to the best of your abilities, and you need to be following the law. Thank you.
We have one other name this evening, but this individual, Mr. Bowen, wanted to speak on a different topic, and that'll come at the end of the meeting, so I didn't want him to think he's been forgotten. We're just keeping this on topic.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that concludes the public comment as to item 7.
All right, we'll open this up to the council for discussion.
Again, I do thank the citizens for coming. I know that it's not popular to most of the audience, but your voice is heard, and it is our intention to do our job. There were comments made at the last meeting, and so I did research, and so I want to read a statement. This is from the current Lieutenant Governor Leslie Rutledge. She issued a statement when she was the Attorney General. And so I think this pertains to some of our discussion from last month, so I just want to read these few sentences. It says, this is pertaining to how to interpret the state statutes. She said, "The first rule in considering the meaning and effect of a statute is to construe it just as it reads, giving the words their ordinary meaning and usually accepted meaning in common language. The statute must be construed so that no word is left void, superfluous, or insignificant. The meaning and effect are given to every word in the statute if possible. When the language of the statute is plain and unambiguous, there is no need to resort to rules of statutory construction." And so I'm going to read the state statute that's quoted in the ordinance. It says, this is State Statute 14-43-502. "The council shall have the management and control of finances and of the real and personal property belonging to the corporation." And so I do hate that we didn't, there were 2 amendments offered, one for me and one for Mr. Harmon, and then I took the 2 and merged them. Because again, the intent is to uphold the state statute. And somebody said it, one of the speakers said it, sometimes you don't realize there's a hole in your process until something comes up. And so this is not about the lease, but just for a refresher so that everybody understands, because to me, once I thought through the process, back in 2017, I wasn't on the council, but the tenant was awarded that lease agreement, and at the time, it was probably an accurate lease because of the past history of failed businesses. Fast forward three years, well, then it's COVID. In the summer and fall of 2020, there wasn't a government entity on the planet that was increasing the rent of a restaurant at that time. So again, that never came before the council, and we were dealing with other things. So now fast forward again 3 more years. That's when this lease came up again, a new administration changes. None of that's a bad thing. I don't want there to be confusion about, sometimes the end result may be the same, but we need to iron out the processes to get to that end result so that it's the same standard procedure every time, no matter who sits in any of these seats. That was always the goal. So I really do think that this is one of those things where, because of a chain of events and different people sitting in these seats, the last 2 times the lease came up, it wasn't discussed amongst this council, and we didn't realize the holes in the process. But there were 2 critical things that happened during this time, this process, that made us realize we have some gaps. So one, the RFP went out and was published before the council members realized that we were not still in good faith negotiations, and the current tenant didn't realize that the city was not still in good faith negotiations. The second significant thing was during our August council meeting, I believe it was unanimous. We didn't vote, but I believe it was unanimous thought amongst the council that we wanted to stop the RFP proceedings. At that time, we were advised by our city attorney that this council could not stop it at that point because it would have been an administrative move, and so we didn't have the power to do that, but we could throw out the bids once they came in. Well, that's when the process just kind of domino effect, one problem after another. So those are the things that came up to realize we have some gaps here. Those things shouldn't have happened. And again, that's not to say that the final end result wouldn't have ended in an RFP, but this council still believed that we were in good faith negotiations with the current tenant. And so that process needed to finish before we started a new process. And so when you read the state statute and you go by the AG's opinion, you can't say that when those two things happened that this council was in control and managing that process, because we weren't. So the other important thing is that there were comments made by a council member and a department head who said, what do other cities do? And so that was part of my research as well. So when I offered this amendment through our city attorney, I included language from North Little Rock, and I also included language from Cabot, but there's this also language from Maumelle, and I would like to read it to you guys. This is not in the amendment, but I want people to see that we're not reinventing the wheel. This is happening in other cities, and they already have it kind of in place. So this is Maumelle's language. Their subsection says bid or marketing requirements. In the case of real property, the property must be advertised or may be advertised or likely publicly marketed by either the city director of community and economic development or a qualified real estate agent of the council's choosing. However, such discretion is subject to the approval of the city council prior to the expenditure of funds for said advertising. The city council will retain ultimate authority to accept or reject a particular offer. And so I would like to open it up to the other council members to see if you have any thoughts or opinions on the amendment. I do think that the amendments offered, you can put things on paper, and then what people's perception is, it's always different than what your intent was. I said it last month, and I'll say it again. The intent was never to dictate day-to-day activities. This lease at this restaurant happens every 3 years. This is not a day-to-day activity. So the rewording of this, I think, makes that even more clear. It does two things. It uses wording from other cities that already have it in place, and it also condenses it down to be very clear that this is not to dictate day-to-day activity.
April, can I ask one question
Sure.
for clarification?
Sure.
First, for purposes of the discussion, are you advocating what you sent out as a combined?
Yes, I just wanted to, I did not
You borrowed
submit
from-
Maumelle, so I just wanted people to
But you
hear.
borrowed from Charlie, if I understand correctly.
I'm sorry, say it one more
You
time.
borrowed from some of what Charlie had
Yes,
written.
yes.
And then, so I just want to make sure we're looking at the right version of what we're
Yes.
discussing.
Well,
Yes.
is that the one I wrote on mine, the blended version of?
Yeah, I
So
wrote
which
combined.
version is that? Because we have lots of papers here.
The third. that came out.
red.
Yes,
The third one, yeah. Okay.
third
It's-
one.
It actually has in parentheses from Cabot's ordinances or from North Rock's
Yes,
ordinances.
okay.
And I do want to thank both Councilman Harmon and Broderick for actually doing some work and sharing this with us and looking at them together. I think there's some very good blends of this. I think.
I agree. There was good work on both parts.
Yes.
Did the council read the email from the North Little Rock City Attorney?
Yes,
did.
I did.
Okay.
That's okay.
And then also from Cabot, I hope you all read the entirety of the ordinance, especially when it got down to section 10. It actually says the efficient management of the city can exist only through mutual understanding and complete cooperation between the city council and the mayor. The mayor's performance cannot be of use unless he is given the latitude to exercise independent judgment and executing policies of the city council. The city council acknowledges that obligation and gives the mayor the latitude of judgment and discretion and expects faithful performance in carrying out the policies of the city council. Also did speak to the mayor of Maumelle, and what you're referencing is the buying and selling of real property, meaning real estate.
But it's all the same, whether the state law doesn't differentiate between what the council's management and control, whether it's being leased or whether it's being sold. And I'm glad that you read the second part from Cabot, but it mentions latitude within the policy.
Cabot follows according to, and I spoke to the mayor and our city attorney spoke to their city attorney, and they basically follow the same policies that we have been following, which is under state statute, our current policies. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I was told.
This is my question. Can you tell me what is wrong with adding this? Because the only thing that limits is in the case that we just had, the only thing that would have changed is that this would have come before the council before it went out for RFP. And at that time, if the council wasn't ready, we would have said, no, we're not ready, or we haven't finished the process. Now, the end result may not have changed. So I guess I'm asking, what is it that bothers you about this wording? The amended wording?
The amended wording?
And I guess that would be a good question for Mr. Harmon, because it's Parks Department, and you guys were in the process of
During the
this.
negotiation.
And the last I heard that the Parks Director was in negotiations.
Correct.
And the last I heard that there was some kind of discussion with the tenant, and the tenant thought that her and the Parks Director had something worked out. That's what she thought, anyway. So
I heard the same thing.
So, Mr. Harmon, what do you think as far as being on the Parks Committee and with this
In the language.
and the language?
And I think that the original language was overly limiting and overly restrictive, and that's the reason that I came back with the amended ordinance that I presented. In your combination of the two, one of the things is we lost a provision I had in there that said, no provision of this ordinance shall apply to the purchase, sale, or leasing of any city-owned personal property or to contracting by the city for professional services, including without limitation the advertising by the city for requests for proposal, requests for qualifications involving said personal property or professional services.
Which section is that you're
Furthermore-
reading off of, Charlie, please?
Do what?
Which section are you reading off of your,
Mine is section 2. I
Okay.
apologize.
Thank
It
you.
says, and then furthermore, with the exception of section 1D, which on mine said that fee changes for the use of rental city facilities and amenities shall be presented to the city council for approval prior to implementation. I said furthermore, with the exception of that section, this ordinance shall not apply to the rental or usage of real property for any term of 6 months or less, or the rental or usage of city-owned facilities or amenities for which the ordinary purpose is short-term usage for a fee, such as Sherwood Forest or the Greens at North Hills. Okay? I understand when we're talking about a 3-year lease, I can understand, I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but I can understand the, how you get anxious about that and about how it's being handled. I still think it's the administration's job to handle it, but I do understand the anxiety that some felt about that situation. Now, saying that we all thought we were still in active negotiations, I think very many of us, if not most of us, didn't even know it was time to renew the lease if you were outside of the Parks Department, that it was that time. And in the past, that was done without any discussion to the council or anything. And I think that was wrong, because the state law requires that any sale or any lease be approved by the city council before it's signed by the mayor. Okay? So somebody said this is just a restatement of state law, you don't typically restate a state law. That's, if we did, our ordinance books would be huge. I don't know if you've ever seen a set of statutes, Arkansas statutes, but it's 25 or 30 volumes long. And if we're going to restate every state law that we're supposed to follow, I just think that that's unnecessary. Also, as far as statutory construction, I don't practice law anymore, but I am still a lawyer. I keep my license active. And where statutory construction is concerned, whenever everything that Councilmember Broderick read was absolutely correct down to the letter, it sounded like a quote from a Supreme Court case. But except the fact that when plain meaning, an exception to that is when the plain meaning results in ambiguity, as you said, or it results in any kind of unworkable, untenable, or even ludicrous result, then you have to go back to statutory construction. To imagine that this city council could manage the real property of the city of Sherwood, do everything necessary to manage the real property of the city of Sherwood. And you got to remember, if you interpret it that way, we can't delegate the authority once you interpret it that way. If you interpret that manage means plain English, manage real property, and the city council is prohibited by the Constitution to delegate its authority to any other body, then we're going to be meeting twice a week for the rest of the time we're all on here, if somebody smarter than us comes on here and fixes that problem. And, but we're going to be meeting twice a week to make sure that rents were collected, to make sure that all the leases are in proper order for whatever the leasing, whether using the pavilion at Sherwood Forest or anything of that nature. All the day-to-day things that involve management of real property would suddenly become this council's and our absolute responsibility that can't be delegated. So that is a ridiculous interpretation. So that means that plain meaning is not looked at, and you have to go into statutory interpretation to find out what was actually intended by the statute. And so taking all that in mind, I went and I drafted one, and I have trouble feeling that this red line that we have doesn't show what was deleted from mine. It just shows what was added from yours. And I'm assuming, except for normal day-to-day operations such as upkeep, repairs, replacements, and renovations that are provided for specifically in the budget, or which total less than $35,000, no substantial modifications, city-owned buildings. That's in there. I think that's a good provision. I think it's again, it's kind of restatement of some other provisions, but it's making clear how other Sherwood ordinances work together when it comes to the management of real property. The next one that says the financial provisions, term, punitive provisions, or maintenance provisions, which is the bulk of any lease, any existing and enforced lease agreement, may not be amended without the prior approval of the city council.
And that was your original C.
That's my original
I saw that.
Now, it does not say we can't enter into negotiations or start talking about amendments or anything of that nature. But it says the final amendment has to be approved by the city council. Again, that is a restatement of state law, but nonetheless, it's in there. I had one of the things that was deleted, and I'm not sure why, was I said lease agreements and contracts involving the leasing or sale of any of the real property must be approved by the city council prior to being signed by the mayor. Very plain English. And again, a restatement of state law. And then my last provision is, I've already read, fee changes have to go before the city council before they can be implemented for any of our properties. I think that those are the primary points. It felt like those were the primary points that the original authors were trying to address. Now, would this keep from an RFP being sent out on a lease? It doesn't specifically prohibit that. But it does say that there can be no lease until the council makes it a lease. So we have the ultimate authority. And then the last section is just common sense that this section, this restriction, has to be set aside in the event of a national emergency like we've had with the tornado.
That was something that I had two questions for you, Charlie. One is on your section 2. I like the idea that, we're not talking about the weekend rental of the greens or something like that, but have we ever leased anything for 6 months? That 6-month provision was just new to me, and I thought
I don't remember one.
We do leases for longer than that. So if you think about the group that does fishes and
the what, the what?
hippos and fishes, for example, they have a much longer lease than 6 months.
They are leasing
We
what?
have, they're leasing time and lanes, in the pool.
Okay, gotcha.
We have, other swim,
Okay. All right, thank you.
Right now in the rec center,
volleyball was a lease.
Okay.
There's-
I
There's
couldn't
lots
remember.
of different
Right. There's
leases.
Both
several,
examples.
there's several things leasing at the rec center right now. I do know that.
All right. The other thing is that when I read this, I don't know, I guess I had watched the movie on your thing of natural disaster. I really like that. But I also, I guess we'd seen something, there was another disaster we'd seen a movie after I read this, or before I read this. And so what, do we say natural or other disaster? I mean, I'm just thinking because there could be, other than the tornado, obviously that's,
Yeah. I just didn't want it to be interpreted that we were
Of course.
waiving laws because
No.
all of a sudden the government said we're going to be under COVID emergency for the next 5 years. So I
So-
didn't want that to waive any laws for that reason.
Charlie, could you speak to and we're starting to get kind of confused here about which version we're looking at, but there was, in one of the versions, it talks about the required relation to advertising. It seemed to be somewhat unmanageable. And I don't think North Little Rock even has that requirement, or at least they don't follow it.
Right, yeah. And that was one of the amendments that Councilmember Broderick proposed to my version. And when she took out my section 2 that Councilmember Williams and I were just visiting about, she inserted this requirement in relation to advertising, hereby mandatory that any consideration by any municipal official, department head, employee, agent, or representative of the city to sell, convey, lease, rent, let any real estate owned or controlled by the city shall be immediately brought before the city council for consideration and approval with regard to the manner of advertising and the terms of the subsequent distribution of such real property. The last part of that, the terms of distribution, subsequent distribution of such real property makes sense, but the manner of advertising doesn't.
So can I ask you, I got this directly from North Little Rock's city website.
But you
and I-
read their email.
Yeah, and she said that this hasn't been repealed, so it's still.
Hasn't been repealed and hasn't been followed as long as she's been the city
So
attorney.
this is my question for you. Is there, so when you're emphasizing the word immediately, I just want it clear, like, I didn't write this, I copied and pasted. So my question is there, do you have amendments where we could, if it's gonna go out for RFP, it would be my request that we could come up with something that we could agree on so that it's approved in this long-term lease, in this example, by the council before something is published. Is there a way that we can amend this
Tweak it.
wording so that it's agreeable?
Their wording, and it may be one of the reasons that they don't follow it, their wording is very cumbersome on both those sections.
And I'm okay to switch out your section
And-
for this
But-
D.
And I will also say too, when y'all are thinking of lease, you're thinking of one lease. The city goes into leases daily, anytime, and rents. Anytime someone rents a room at the Harmon Center or at Sherwood Forest, those are leases. Those that they are renting it for that day. We have parties, we have things that occur all the time. And by just throwing in lease, I don't think you realize the ramifications for that.
What about if we put in there something like a long-term lease?
He has language,
That's
that's why he's got
Right.
the
So
language of
there's a
over
difference.
6 months.
Right. I mean, there's a difference, and you're right. There's a difference between a long-term lease
And rent it for a
versus
birthday party,
lease
yeah.
But is it in the
or
combined
rental.
A 6-month, anything over
Yeah.
6 months or over.
And
Okay.
that's why he put that language in
Right.
there.
That's not in the combined version.
No, and that,
Anything-
But it can be.
Charlie's.
Anything
But it
over
can be
6
added.
months,
Right.
if
It's
not
not-
be advertised unless.
Right.
Okay.
So that needs to
And
be.
I would say there are, if you're gonna do that, you need to do it for longer than 6 months, because as I said, you've got organizations that will rent for a year at a time. So if you're talking about, 3 to 5 years, that would narrow it down, but otherwise, this doesn't,
Well, are Sean or Blake here, either one of them?
Sean is. There's Blake.
And
Let's
that's what I-
call Blake
that's what I
up here.
heard- That's what I heard them asking.
Let's
is
put
for
Blake
more
on
than
the
6 months.
hot
Let me
seat.
let me ask this real quick. How many do we have that's over 6 months? How many leases do we
How
have
about
that's
Blake
over?
can answer that?
The one that comes to mind is the hippos and fish, and depending on how you look at it, we could take the Sylvan Hills Athletic Club, divide it into two, since it's 2 seasons, but it is an annual. The soccer club is an annual.
The Dolphins.
They're really they're really program agreements. But
Operating
how
agreements.
how it's been led is we can't enter into operating agreements with, the clubs that want to utilize our facilities without coming in here, which is, however y'all want to do it. But it's really the soccer club, hippos and fish. We have people that approach us about utilizing a space to do classes. We're looking to try to bring people in over at the youth center to utilize that facility over there to do different art classes and things of that nature. So depending on how that goes, it's either a contract or it's they're renting the space. We try to do as much as we can with as many people for as many programs and things that we can, but it's.
We're talking about 4 people, 4.
no, you're talking about more than that.
I've only
There's
heard
quite,
3
no,
to
there's,
4.
No, you've got the
I don't
Sharks,
have
you
the
got the
list of who all
Dolphins,
we
you've got
have.
Hippos,
Hang
you've
on a
got
minute.
Sylvan Hills, you've
Yeah,
got the
I mean-
soccer club.
All right.
it
Just off the
depends
top
on
of my
how it's
head.
how it's asked and what we actually, because we're.
For actually leasing something out
That's
for
my
an
question.
actual lease.
You don't have,
Actual lease,
you don't have
Until
leases.
today, I thought would have been just the Joey's lease.
I'm not talking, we're
You
not
see
talking
what I'm
about an
saying? So-
operating
We have a
agreement.
golf cart lease.
That's, the golf cart lease, we leased,
That's different.
That's real
personal
property.
property.
That's real
different.
property.
But it also came before council too. We leased some, lawnmowers.
Okay,
So it's,
I
we're getting in the
would,
weeds on some of it.
Okay.
can I go back to that question that was asked me just a minute ago? For leases over 6 months. Okay, I've been on the council 17 years this year. This is your 19th year,
Right.
Councilman Brooks. And I do not recall ever there being an RFP for a leased property before. So it's submitting an RFP for a leased property. Has it happened before, to your
No.
knowledge? Okay. And the reason the RFP occurred was because there was an erroneous interpretation of another state law where people in the administration felt like they were required to do the RFP, okay? Which is one of the reasons that we did what we did at the Parks and Rec Committee meeting that following few weeks. But, so if you wanted to say that any advertisements for the lease of real property, including but not exclusively, RFPs and RFQs, but it'd be RFPs have to come before the council before they're published for leases of over 6 months. I think that's a fine thing because typically we don't do that. Like I said, in 19 years, have you seen one? Last 19 years, we've never done it before. It's been done one time. So the risk is minuscule. So, no, I'd have no problem if y'all would accept most of my ordinance, my revision as it's presented to the original ordinance, and then add a section, bear with me a second.
So you're talking about section 2 of yours, Charlie?
yes.
Yeah, section 2 says is what it doesn't apply to. So what I would do is I would add a section 1E and state under 1E. Because the section 1 is where the prohibitions are. Section 2 is where exceptions are, and you want to try to keep those things separate. So I would add a 1E that simply states that for leases in excess of 6 months, with periods in excess of 6 months, no advertising, including but not limited to RFPs, shall be published with regard to the lease or sale of any property without prior approval of the council.
Why don't you just say lease and not sell, because
Yeah,
That's
Okay, yeah,
that's
we didn't do it.
completely
We wouldn't do it in
different.
that. Yeah, for the lease, yeah.
okay.
And
And that excludes those program agreements, correct?
The program agreements are excluded in my section 2. That's why I said I want
Okay.
to go back to
Okay.
my draft, because my section 2 includes the no provision applies to personal property, so that excludes the golf carts and the
Right.
equipment at the greens. And then I've got a sentence in there that excludes things of leases of 6 months or less, and short-term agreements for amenities for which the ordinary purpose is short-term usage for a fee. And then I put in
For a fee.
parentheses, e.g. Sherwood Forest and the greens at North Hills.
And that's,
And those
and
fees match those program things.
and I had already stated publicly that we would not put out an RFP going forward without approval of the council. So there's not an issue there.
I had one more question, Charlie, about the $35,000 and the $20,000 that were changed. Under state law, $35,000 has to be bid. That's when you sell or we're buying something for bid. What was the difference in the why did you change it from the $20,000 to $35,000?
Because
Just
I
a
don't think we
question.
can give the mayor in one ordinance the authority to spend $35,000, and then in a separate ordinance,
Okay,
a confusing
to parallel,
alternative-
to
I
parallel the thing. That's
parallel
what,
the two,
that's what I
so
assumed,
that
that's
it
when
made
you
more
say
sense.
that. The other thing, the one thing about, I would like to have the first whereas kept, because it quotes the statute. And almost all of our ordinances, we have the statute quoted in the first whereas, just to be, again, parallel to all the other ordinances.
Okay.
So if we,
But that gets you a misinterpretation of management then.
Now, I'd like to, I think there are probably some others up here with me that think we'd like to get this wrapped up tonight.
I agree.
Yes, I would like to get it wrapped up tonight, absolutely.
Okay, well,
So,
go ahead.
can we start this way?
okay,
Can I make a motion that
I can't hear
we
you.
replace my ordinance with the original one, and then we can consider amendments to my ordinance draft? Will that work for
Okay.
Is
everybody?
that good with you, Ms. Broderick?
I second that.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, let's go slow.
First, I've got to understand, which one is Charlie's? Okay?
It's all the red.
Okay, well, I got several of those too, so I mean, come on.
I have all these written, Charlie.
I wrote
April-
Charlie's,
I like
Charlie's amended,
Charlie, April
So we're gonna
final.
go off Charlie.
blended Charlie and
Charlie
April.
to start with, and then make the amendments from there.
Okay, I'm gonna take a vote
Okay.
on the
Yeah, yes.
amendment.
Okay.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas. Sanders.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Wade.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Okay, now you want the motion for the 1E under section
Yes.
2,
I'll make a-
as Charlie stated.
Yep.
Yeah, I make a motion that under that under
Second.
section 1, we add an E that says that with respect to any leases with a term in excess of 6 months, no advertising regarding such lease, including but not limited to any RFPs, shall be published prior to approval by the city council.
Second.
Roll call.
Lilly.
I'm gonna ask that be restated, because I'm not sure that I understand exactly
happy
what,
to.
what you're saying, so.
I'm saying that the RFP that caused such a problem with the Joey's lease, neither that nor any other kind of advertising can go out regarding any leases that the term is more than 6 months without prior approval from this council. Seeing the advertisement, approving how it's going to go out, approving the wording and everything else.
And he said RFP.
And I said,
So-
yeah, including but not limited to RFPs.
Okay, so what are we including but not excluding other than RFPs and advertising?
I'm saying any kind of advertising, including but not limited to RFPs. So I'm just saying, included in the definition of advertising is RFP, is what that means.
Sorry. Mr. Cobb, do we have to vote on each amendment or
No,
can
you
we
can make all the
do?
amendments and then
And then
take a vote, but we're gonna have to start over on the reading because we've amended it. So we'll have to go
Okay,
back to number
let's go.
1 once we have a solid document.
So is our second is to include the whereas with the,
The first one was the whereas, right? And the second one, or did we already include the?
Well, I don't think we said the whereas.
No, let's,
Okay.
which whereas are we talking about?
The original whereas that has the statute in it.
Okay, well, then let me make a friendly amendment to my own motion, that in addition to the addition of section 1E, we reinstate the original whereas from the original draft of the ordinance.
Okay.
First whereas, first recital.
I'll restate a second then.
Are there any other amendments? Okay, roll call.
Okay, so we got the whereas and then the 1E, and there are no other amendments to Charlie's version of
Correct.
the ordinance.
Call the roll, please.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
We'll go back to the first reading as amended.
An ordinance establishing policies regarding the management set, actually, on
You gotta
Charlie's.
read it, it's different.
We have lots of versions.
A lot of work.
An ordinance establishing policies regarding the management, sale, and leasing of real property owned by the city of Sherwood, Arkansas, as amended. That's the first reading.
And since there were no other amendments, I'm going to make a motion that we suspend the rules and place it on second reading.
Second.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
An ordinance establishing policies regarding the management, sale, and leasing of real property owned by the city of Sherwood, Arkansas. That's the second reading.
Move we suspend the rules and place it on third and final reading.
Second.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
An ordinance establishing policies regarding the management, sale, and leasing of real property owned by the city of Sherwood, Arkansas. That's the third reading.
Move for the adoption of the ordinance.
Second.
Lilly,
All about timing for me. No.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-4, 1 against.
No emergency clause.
I'd like to thank Councilmember Harmon for all the work that he did on
Thank you, Charlie.
putting those together.
I
All
want to
right.
thank the original authors as well for their spirit of cooperation in getting this finalized and getting it off the table.
Yes.
Moving on, we've got Advertising and Promotion Commission. Councilmember Brooks, as chairman, would you like to talk about the meeting and any issues with AMP?
First, I'm going to let everybody go ahead that wants to leave, and give everybody a chance to leave, and
They're scared of us now. They don't want to take their eyes off us.
I guess not. That's okay. I do want to give everybody a chance to leave.
Ooh, they found that door.
How many meetings do we get that they haven't found that door?
There'll be a claw going in here and my soul going out that last door. I used to go out that door. What? Remember when we were doing the golf course? I used that side door. I thought it worked.
All right, if I could please call us back to order so that we may continue on. Councilmember Brooks, you have the floor.
All right, the Sherwood Advertising and Promotion Commission did meet this month. We discussed a lot of different things. We just got through with Sherwood Fest, and we're gearing up for the Trail of Lights. We have a lot of things coming up with the Trail of Lights, and there's going to be some big changes coming up. So that's one of the things I really want to talk about. So everybody that's still here, if I could have everybody's undivided attention, please. Thank you very much. We are going to go with and this is not going to be for every night, so I do want everybody to understand this. This is not going to be for every night. Certainly not probably on the weekdays, and not early on in the year, or in the season, but it's going to be especially on Friday and Saturday nights and probably the week of Christmas, but we're going to go with a ticketing system this year. There's going to be a QR code, and you're going to get on that QR code online, and that'll be the way to get your ticket to get in line. And it hopefully will alleviate some of the lines that have been on 107. We've had lines back up 107 into the Gravel Ridge area and up through probably up to Keel, trying to get into the Trail of Lights. And that poses a safety concern for our citizens. If there's a medical emergency, it poses a safety concerns for our police officers who are out there working the traffic. So there's just a lot of issues. Then we also have the concerns and the headaches of the people who may have driven in from out of town, who've driven all the way here, and they get to the gate just to hear, oh, we're sorry, but we had to close the gates 10 minutes ago. We don't have any more room for the evening, so sorry you drove in from Bald Knob, or the chief's favorite place, he likes to say, is El Dorado. Sorry you drove in from El Dorado, but you're not going to be allowed to come in tonight. Just not going to happen tonight. So anyway, the chief and Cameron from IT have worked very hard along with others. The chief, Cameron, the mayor, Colleen from finance, myself, we had a meeting the other day, and I think this is going to work. And I'm going to invite the chief to come up now and give his spiel on how this is. I'm going to turn it over to him because it's his, kind of his doing, I'm going to say. I'm going to throw him under the bus. How about that?
Yeah. Listen, I'm comfortable under the bus.
Are you comfortable under the bus?
I'm comfortable under the bus.
Okay.
Thank y'all, I appreciate it. I'm Jeff Hager, I'm the chief of police. So we've had problems in the last several years with Trail of Lights. And so the most common two complaints that we get from citizens, complaint number one is the fact that 107, and everybody that lives in Sherwood, if you go down 107, in the evening hours during Trail of Lights knows that it's just locked up. I mean, the traffic is just completely at a standstill. As it gets closer to Christmas, when the trail becomes more popular, as it gets closer to Christmas, and we've looked at ways to try to speed that traffic up and to loosen that traffic up. And one of the things that we looked at a few years ago, and we were unable to find a way to do it, because there's always been this desire that the Trail of Lights be free, and that's the intent, and that's the way you want to keep it. And it was hard to find a ticketing system or a reservation system that was free. And so Cameron has found a program that will allow us to do that. And the purpose of it is for us to kind of be able to control the number of people that we can put into a time slot at night. So as Ms. Brooks said, this is not a problem really until the week of, sometimes 2 weeks before Christmas, and typically on the weekends is when it becomes a problem. This system, and if you have any questions about the system in and of itself, I'm gonna have to get Cameron up here because I'm not the person that can answer that question. But I will give you some statistics. In December last year, we had 17,424 cars that went through the Trail of Lights.
if we've come up with a number that we can get through there in half-hour increments, and those numbers, you ready, Beverly? Okay. Those numbers are 115 cars per half-hour segment that we can get through there. So you can check my math, but if we do that over the course of the 30 days that the trail's open, that's going to come out to 17,000, or I'm sorry, that's going to come up to 24,150 cars that we can fit through, which is more than what we got through last year. And it allows us to keep traffic off of 107 by selling those time or reserving those time slots. So the two biggest complaints that we get, obviously the first I told you was the backup on 107. That's the biggest thing that we have to try to alleviate. But the second complaint that we get, and this is the El Dorado comment, because the last 3 years, I've gotten a call from somebody that drove here from El Dorado, Arkansas, to drive through the Trail of Lights, and they got turned around at DJ Hudson because we had to shut the road down. And we just don't have a choice. I mean, when it backs up into the turn lane, we've seen it backed up all the way to Gravel Ridge, and we've seen it backed up all the way to North Hills, and it's just a safety hazard. We can't allow the traffic to be backed up like that. So, when people are coming in, I would feel a whole lot better about telling somebody you can't come in because you didn't have a reservation. You had to control over that process to get a reservation. It's free. You just have to, do a little research and you can find it. And today, that's pretty common practice that you would have to have some kind of reservation to get into something. I would feel a whole lot better about telling somebody, no, you don't have a reservation, you can't come through tonight, than I would to just shut down, DJ Hudson with no warning, and you've driven, that far. So I think it'll be, I think it puts a little bit of the onus back on the patron that wants to go through. I know there's some concerns about how much time we have to advertise it, but I think it can be done personally. But that's up to others that are more in tune with social media than I am. So, but that's kind of the gist of it. And we will, one correction that I will make, we will be using the reservation system every night, not just towards the end. But the reason for that is we will not turn people away if there's openings, though. Right. So if there's 45 people that had a reservation and we can get 115 in, we're going to let them go. We're not going to stop them. But the reason that we want to go ahead and do it every night is so we can make sure we're working out the kinks. So at the end of the season, when it gets really busy, we have that hopefully ironed out. And it's like I told A&P Commission, if it's a bust and it's not working, then we're going to go back to the old way and we're going to get them in there. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I've got a question about, I drove from Magnolia, not El Dorado. And my time slot, I used the QR code and my time slot was 7:30, but there was back up on the freeway when I got into Little Rock and Southwest Little Rock, that area, and I am late. And so I'm 15 minutes late when I get there. Mm-hmm. Are you going to try to work me in? I mean, the doctor will keep me if I'm 15 minutes late. I don't have to pay the $50 till I'm over 15 minutes late at the doctor. So I figure 15 minutes late is not that big a deal. Are you going to work with people who are late like that?
So I'm going to give you the best answer I can for that, because I want you to understand I'm typically not the guy there at the gate. So the goal here is to get as many cars in there as we can to enjoy the lights without making a dangerous situation on Highway 107. The goal is to not be, strict and rigid about the number. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if there is 115 cars that have already signed up to get through there, that they're going to have time to sit and listen to that explanation and make that decision. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's possible that somebody would not that somebody could get turned away. But the intent, and our guys know this, Cameron designed it this way, the intent is to control the flow, is to not turn anybody away. So that would certainly not be the intent, and we'll emphasize that to our folks. And, you know, the thing is if we have one of those nights where we have 1,400 cars come through, and we do, there are nights where we'll have, you know, and if you do the math, we can't get 1,400 cars through. So those nights, we get out of there at midnight. You know, I mean, we still have them in line at 9:30, and, you know, we shut it down, but by the time all the cars filter through, it's midnight before we get out of there. So the intent is to get as many through as we can, and we will encourage that. And I would hope that a reasonable person sitting there at the gate, if you gave me that explanation, I would say go ahead.
Chief,
But-
are the plans still to do the Fast Pass?
Yeah, so we didn't discuss that. I'm glad you mentioned it.
I would think that would help in a case like if you're coming from, Magnolia, then you know that you have a guaranteed
Yeah, so we
slot,
discussed,
so-
we discussed a fast pass system, which basically you pay a fee, a nominal fee to guarantee yourself the front of the line. So, and it'll come in, and Cameron can explain this better than I can, but you can manipulate the reservation to show where you enter, what point you enter from, and so if you purchase one that allows you to go to the front of the line, then because where this came from is we get limousines, we get church buses, and, you know, they have to sit in line for 2.5 hours, and they just, you know, they don't want to do that. So if we can offer them, they've actually asked us about that in the past, you know, if they could pay for a designated time. So we're going to try to offer that. The way that'll work is if you got 115 slots in that half hour, those fast passes will be sold the day before. You can't buy them the day of. So if you buy them the day before, then we know what the times are that those would come through, and they will count against the 115 that we can get through. So that allows us to manage that time frame. So, but that would give them a guarantee, and there's going to be more time to look at that. So I think that there's only going to be 2 or 3 nights out of the year that somebody could potentially get turned away. But what I'm hoping is if they know that they can make a reservation, that if they look and they see time slots are filling up, then they'll just come later, you know, and that's what we need them to do.
So how and where are we gonna be scanning tickets to make sure they've got a reservation? I mean, are we gonna be setting up in Gravel Ridge saying, check in here, or how does that work?
So when you come in on DJ Hudson, as you're coming up before you get to where you run out of the pavement and hit the gravel at the elementary school there's a place that we can turn them around. So we'll put a gate there, and we will check them there, and that way if we do have to turn people away, we have that parking lot of the school to turn them back the other direction, so we don't have to stop traffic to get them out.
So we potentially are gonna have, lots of traffic still on 107 from people who were unaware that they needed a reservation. So, I mean, that's gonna put a lot of pressure on the need to get that advertising out there so people will see it, they'll know it, they're not packing up out there on 107 only to be told, hey, you don't have a reservation, because then we've slowed the entrance down and still have the issue on 107. So, I mean, that advertising is gonna be crucial, or have some kind of signage, you know, out on 107 in different areas that say, you know, reservation, you know, needed, or, I mean, something that warns people that, you know, before you get here.
Well, hopefully, like on the weeknights, it's not gonna be an issue, because like on the weeknights, hopefully it'll be slow enough that a reservation's not gonna be needed.
We typically put out banners, around the community advertising Trail of Lights. So we would,
We have people that are coming from all over the state.
Right.
How are we, Central Arkansas
So-
in particular, how are we advertising? those?
Heather is back there,
Yeah.
and
TV.
Heather is our public information.
yeah, yeah. So, we're looking at through the news medias,
TV.
Facebook,
Yeah, it'll
where
be
you Google it.
traditional, press release is forthcoming. I have contacted several news stations about appearing on their morning TV shows. We have 2 billboards are digital billboards, which have been donated use of those. So there will be no expense incurred to the city for that. Those designs are forthcoming as well. Social media, of course, every tool that we have available in our arsenal will be used for this. And I agree, it will be a challenge, but it's one that I feel like we can, for safety and for the reasons that Chief would, think this is important for the city, we're going to give it everything we got. So, and I think that the use of social media will be useful in that if there are reservations available for a night, we can put that out and say, still spots available, or, no spots available. Don't even
Sold
come.
out.
So that's the plan, and I am open to ideas. If y'all have ideas, or, Marina wants to give us some money for some, more advertising. But yes, and I agree with Mr. Lilly that signage saying reservation required beyond this point, no ticket, please turn around,
we talked
however it
about like an
works.
electronic,
Like an RDOT,
sign, so that, right, so that,
sign,
no reservations available, something to where it can be updated all the
On some
time.
nights, it will say reservations needed this night, and sometimes we'll say,
Reservations,
Reservations
yeah, or
recommended.
open spots or something.
Put signs all over the city, really.
Sure, and we
with
do
those,
that, but I
QR
think that
code
it's
right
gonna
there.
be the new component and getting that
Right.
this
The
is
QR code.
new
QR
this
code.
year. And we also on I've already put it on our website in a draft. It will be literally right at the top, right next to the government button. You click that, and that's where you get your QR, reserve your time. So.
And Councilmember Sanders, part of the reason why this got brought up is that the chief talked about every year how people do come from far away and then they can't get in.
Right.
And, so we're trying to find a way to kind of minimize that, but he gets the angry calls. My predecessor got the angry calls and the disappointment of traveling all the way up here, sitting in a line for 2 hours, and then being turned away.
I think I've
I
got
think
this
the-
angry call.
I think we all
I mean,
have.
we have, and just the fact that we're trying to do something, I think
Well-
it's a good effort, and it can be very successful.
Yeah, and let me say this, and we can park this one on my shoulders. I'm the one that came to A&P and the mayor and asked about looking into this. This is one of those things that I can't tell you 100% that this is gonna work. I think it will, and I hope it will make it better. But I can tell you 100% what we've been doing doesn't work. So, I think it's worth a shot, and, I wish I could answer y'all's questions to your satisfaction. We've discussed the signage, we've discussed the advertising, and we'll certainly do the best that we can. Heather's a whole lot better at that than I am, but,
We'll have a whole lot of answers January 1.
yes. And y'all can throw rocks at me. I wear a
I think it's a
vest
good
just for
idea.
that
I
reason.
wear a
No
vest.
rocks here. I would just
Oh,
say
yeah,
that we need a
great
good
idea.
note taker throughout the course of the Trail of
Right.
Light so that we,
And make sure
we
and give
can
out
learn from it.
your address, okay?
Yeah, I
The
live at
other change,
2201 East
Marina,
Yeah, I'm
About
gonna
the-
make the
at the
other
beginning.
change also, is that this year at the entrance of the Trail of Lights, instead of at the exit of the Trail of Lights, at the entrance of the Trail of Lights, that's where you're gonna get your candy cane and make your donations and all that. That may be, that will speed up, because, at the end of the Trail of Lights, always, it kind of slowed things down, everybody's getting their
Chit-chatting.
candy cane and chit-chatting, and, oh, how'd you like the trail, and
They're in a hurry to go at the
donations.
beginning of it.
And the chief didn't like this. When I said, so then when they leave the Trail of Lights, they can just zoom out that parking lot 100 miles an hour. He didn't
well, maybe not 100,
he didn't
right?
really like that answer, but.
School zone.
How about 25?
How about the speed limit? Yeah.
They could zoom out the parking lot at a reasonable speed limit and get on their way, but faster than they were getting out because they were being slowed down at the exit. So hopefully that will speed people getting out. They have kind of spaced out the displays this year, Sean has told me, so hopefully that'll also move people along because a lot of people were braking, you know, looking at the displays because they were so close together. But so maybe by spacing out the displays a little bit, it will make the traffic move along a little faster instead of stopping so frequently looking at the displays because they're so close together.
Is
So
that
hopefully,
limiting the displays? Are we decreasing the amount, or is it just?
we have taken a few down, some of the older displays that have
Yes.
weathered their time. So yes, we have.
10 minutes.
Some of the original displays that were purchased by the city at the inception of the trail, so.
I think that the main thing is we wanted you all to feel comfortable with why the decision was made, and certainly if y'all completely object to that decision too, you know, we can abide by that.
I would like Cameron maybe to come to the November senior citizen meeting and just make sure all the seniors know, because so many of them take their grandkids and they make sure they know how to do a QR code.
Sure.
Because, you know, some people don't. Some people don't.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Councilmember Williams, is that a lot of the seniors don't know how to do that.
Right,
So
and we've got people like our former Parks Director, Sonny Jensen's out here.
Sonny, will you
and
come
flip
teach it?
phones, flip phones don't do
You still have
QR
flip
codes.
phones?
But his wife does, so it's okay, she'll help him. Poor Sonny.
We love you.
So everybody's okay with?
Yes.
Love you, Sonny.
With trying this?
It's good.
All right.
So
we
if
have the-
anyone has any other questions, please feel free to give me a call. We will meet next time, the first Wednesday in November, which is coming up very rapidly. This month has just flown by, and it's at 4 o'clock right here in the council chambers. And we'll finish discussing this along with our budget for next year, so.
All right. Moving on, Parks and Recreation Committee, Councilmember Harmon.
Y'all gonna love my report compared to hers. We had no meeting, so there are no notes. And I would ask for a motion to table the resolution regarding the pickleball courts. Some questions came up with staff, and they'd like to hold that off till next month, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Lily,
You've never been called Lily,
I've been called a lot
little
of things,
Lily?
but not that one.
sorry. Lily,
Aye.
Thomas, Sanders,
Hi.
Broderick, Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
All right, next up, we have, under Planning Commission, an ordinance to expand the Sherwood City Planning Commission to 7 members, expanding the membership of the Board of Zoning Adjustment and for other purposes. Our city planner, Shelby, is going to kind of talk you all through the necessary amendments, so if you all could be ready to make your edits on that, so that hopefully we can finally be done with this one.
Good evening. You're talking about the new one we got?
So the one, and I'll just recap it real quick. What was in the packet was one of the revisions upon revisions. It's kind of like what occurred earlier, so here we are again. So the amended has been put in front of you, correct? And what we can do is we can go through the sections of what was in the packet.
We're gonna start labeling these A, B, C,
I
D,
know.
or 1, 2, 3, or something.
PQR,
I mean,
yeah.
Is that different from the one we got saying it's new?
That was in the packet?
No, the packet's
You
another
received
one.
another one
I
separate
received
in the
another that
email?
says this is a new one.
Well,
Yes,
let's
separate
just see
email.
real quick. If that's the case, that might make it easier, huh?
We'll go through section by section.
Okay, let's just
Okay.
start real quick at section 2, because that will tell us very quick. So
Okay.
section 2, the terms for members, it was amended to read, we'll go down to sentence 2, that each commissioner, upon nomination by the mayor, may serve a maximum of 5 terms, not including service, filling an unexpired term of a vacated seat. Is that what yours reads?
That's what mine
Okay,
said.
then these are the final
The
amendments.
other one said renominate and this one said nominate.
Yes, correct. Okay, that's the first amendment. Do we want to keep going, or?
Yes, let's do all the amendments, and then we'll get
Okay.
through this.
Moving on to section 6, there was clarification that was placed on the 12-month period. That's not a 12-month calendar year. It's just whenever the absence rolls in to that setting, it will be a 12-month rolling period.
Can you read B as
So-
amended?
Yes, so chronic absentee as evidenced by missing 3 meetings in a row or 5 meetings in any 12-month period.
Okay.
So we just simply clarified that. That was nothing necessarily amended.
Okay.
Okay, and then we're moving to section 3 on the last page.
Well, on the paragraph right after that, any planning commissioner?
Who misses is
Yes,
how it reads.
the
Yes.
which was changed to who? Okay.
And then the next one was a pretty lengthy amendment, and this dates back to the zoning code and how the Board of Zoning Adjustments reads. So section 3B, the meetings, it will now read, "The board shall meet a minimum of once every January, but meetings may be called at any time. Meetings shall be held in a location designated by the board's bylaws and shall be open to the public. The chair may designate an alternative location in the city when a location designated by the board bylaws is not available for a public meeting. Minutes of all proceedings shall be maintained and kept as public record by the administrative official. The precedence of at least 4 members shall be necessary to constitute a quorum, and the concurring vote of the majority of the entire board, being at least 4 votes, shall be necessary to make official any action by the board." And that was the amendments.
Move to amend the ordinance accordingly?
Second.
I thought there was a new section 4. That section 4 was not on the thing we had originally.
That was the additional amendment then. Here we go. I do have a section 4 in my version.
Right,
You-
there's a
Y'all
section
did not
4.
receive that?
Well, I have it.
Okay.
But I don't like it. That would
You
be
don't
what
like-
I'd strike completely.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and read it out loud, and then we can discuss it. Is that fine?
Sure.
Okay. Section 4 of this amendment says that the city council, having found that the economic development of the city is being hampered by delay in adoption of this ordinance, an emergency is hereby found to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and adoption.
I would not include that in my motion.
I would
to
not
amend.
either. I think that section 4 needs to be gone completely.
Okay, so then strike
So-
that section.
So for clarity here, on page 1, I've got a section 3, and on page 2, I've got a section 4, and then on page 3, I've got a section 3 and 4. So, I mean.
That was a question I had too. I noticed, and I don't know if it's because of some zoning book we've got or whatever, but you're not using the standard paragraph delineation that's used in legal documents or in our ordinances.
Okay.
Where you would have section 1, and then under section 1, you'd have A, and then under A, you'd have 1, 2, 3.
No, that I understand, and that's something that can be amended.
Okay. Yeah,
I
think-
did
'cause it
not
does-
create this document. I
That's
am here
fine.
to speak to it tonight.
That's fine, that's
For
fine.
clarification.
That's fine, and it's not being overly critical, it's just, it does make it difficult to read.
I understand.
When somebody said, look at section 3, and then they said the last page, I was confused as well.
So
Okay.
it would, just to clarify, so under section 8, where it says section 2, it should say like A, and the next one B.
We'll reformat it the correct
Reformat,
manner.
okay.
Yes.
Does everybody understand that?
Yes, yep.
Okay, that will be reformatted, so we don't have to go through amendment process. Those are the amendments. Do we have a motion to,
I've already moved it.
well, that was before it was added to, so can you make the
Well,
motion again?
Okay, the renumbering, a friendly amendment to my motion that the renumbering would be included in the amendment.
And I second it.
And take out 4.
And 4's taken off.
We took out 4, yeah, I took out 4.
Take out 4
Already took
completely.
out 4, yeah.
Okay, roll call, please, with all the amendments and deletion.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas. Sanders. Broderick.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Wade.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
An ordinance to expand the Sherwood City Planning Commission to 7 members, expanding the membership of the Board of Zoning Adjustment and for other purposes as amended. First reading.
Move we suspend the rules and place it on second reading.
Second.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders,
Aye.
Broderick, Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
An ordinance to expand the Sherwood City Planning Commission to 7 members, expanding the membership of the Board of Zoning Adjustment and for other purposes as amended. Second reading.
Move we place it on third and final reading.
Second.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders, Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
An ordinance to expand the Sherwood City Planning Commission to 7 members, expanding the membership of the Board of Zoning Adjustment and for other purposes as amended. That was the third and final reading.
Move for adoption as amended.
Second.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders,
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Oh, aye. I'm not Williams. I'm Harmon.
It passed unanimously. Moving on, we have an ordinance adopting an access management plan for Brockington Road and for other purposes. James Walden is the author of this, and he knows it best, and unfortunately, they have flu in his family, and he could not be here tonight. So we're just asking that this be read a second time.
Thank you.
And then he will be here at the next council meeting to answer any and all questions, and please feel free to reach out to him in the meantime with any specific questions. Moving on, we have a resolution regarding an appeal of a building official's decision pursuant to ordinance number 2074 regarding 8960 Brockington Road, Sherwood, Arkansas.
So this resolution on the agenda tonight is an appeal to the building official's determination as it pertains to exterior wall coverings. And I would like to note that the applicant has been proactive, so the building official has not yet denied, they already know. So in this case, we'll just go into the letter that was attached. It speaks to the finishes on the west, north, and south are proposed to be a factory finished metal wall panel. In this case, there was some miscommunication. So the applicant is proposing on the north, south, and west side to use an approved exterior wall covering that's already prescribed within the zoning code. So the only appeal here is to the east side of the building that abuts a single-family residential and where there is the natural buffer that will remain. And they would like to use metal wall panels.
Is this the corrugated metal wall panels, or is this architectural metal siding?
I believe corrugated.
I could have sworn our ordinance didn't apply to property that could either not be seen by residences or couldn't be seen from the road.
It's been enforced for all sides. It applies.
So if it abuts residential, and if
residential,
the screening
correct.
dies, you
And
can
it's-
see
and it's
it.
got
Nothing
the
is talked
the
about.
buffer.
The only thing in respect to what they're proposing in this case is there is going to be a substantial buffer and screening because it is a commercial property that abuts R1.
What is the distance, maybe?
Right now, the site plan they have submitted, there is significant setback allotted because it's been approved through the planning commission. But we don't have official construction drawings in-house yet.
Didn't we approve something on a church on 107?
Yes,
They were
we did.
given-
Yes.
Same thing.
And
The
we
same
allowed
thing.
that on
The same
backside.
thing.
And I drove by this church today, and I do not see any issue. I drove through the whole back parking lot, and I don't see any issue in this at all.
Yeah, this even sets further back than the one that was previously approved, and really, there's no way for it to be seen from Brockington Road, which
And-
was the purpose of
And the purpose of it
ordinance.
was that the attractiveness from the street curb appeal.
Yeah.
Curb
And
appeal.
I'd like to just add that I'm discovering that we're kind of behind the times when it comes to allowing metal in construction material. And I talk about that when I talk about driving in large cities, Dallas and areas like that, but also Northwest Arkansas. And the metals are used in a very attractive way, and they're used with a large number of buildings up there. And I think that if we did a survey, we might find that we're one of the few cities that make somebody come to us for an exception if they want to put metal on their building.
We've-
It's just not, it's, you know, we felt like we got burned by one, it's another situation where we have a knee-jerk reaction to one instance. We felt like we got burned in one instance, and so our knee-jerk reaction was no more metal unless you come and ask us.
We spoke about this today, and you're right in that there are things like the architectural siding, which is different than corrugated metal siding. And so we were going to look at bringing something before the council with some new language so next month, so that this doesn't have to keep reoccurring over and over again.
Yeah, I think the original intent is just to ensure we don't have a garage-looking building, you know, sitting out there on Brockington or entryways into the city.
Anyway like that.
And there's some really good-looking architectural metal sidings that are available out there for sure. I would like to call for adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Roll call.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders, Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Moving on, a resolution amending the comprehensive plan for Sherwood for the property located at 8900 Brockington Road and for other purposes.
So this next item on the agenda was recommended by the Sherwood Planning Commission along with the staff recommendation to amend the future land use plan, Sherwood Vision 2040, the comprehensive plan, from large-scale multifamily, which is what the future land use currently projects it as, to commercial corridor based on its location and frontage on Brockington Road. So staff recommends approval of this amendment.
I move for approval.
Second?
Roll call.
So I have a question. In the planning commission's minutes and what have you, there was discussion about the removal of homes, et cetera, that are already there within a 2-year period. Is that done away with? And if so, I mean, what's the timing that those people who live there today have to move off of the property?
So presently, this is simply a land use plan amendment. It's policy document. The rezone for this item was held in a concurrent public hearing during that meeting. So in respect to that, the Planning Commission recommended tabling the item until staff could bring forth necessary recommendations to the nonconforming use section of the zoning code, where it does place a 2-year provision as it reads right now for any residential zoning that is utilized as residential purposes that goes commercial. But in respect to that as well, there's been conversations with legal advocates as well as those who have been in the planning profession for a long time that they don't see how that's necessarily legal or constitutional. So we are working on those amendments. They will be heard by the Planning Commission in
Before it
November.
comes to you all.
Before
Yeah,
it comes.
So then how does adopting this comprehensive plan and making that, you know, the view and vision of the city impact that in when it comes to the time for rezoning? I mean, what's these normally we see these, you know, side by side or back to back. And,
Right.
And my concern is that if we adopt this, then when it comes to the rezoning, we really don't have much of an option but to adopt that because we've already adopted this piece. But then we have people that are living there that are then, you know, where does that leave them? I mean,
So in respect to that, like I had just stated, so staff is working to amend the nonconforming. It will take the provision that sets a parameter on if they would have to move. We're removing that. That's what we're recommending. It's not legal.
And there was
Okay.
concern
It's
in
never
that-
been
Yeah,
enforced.
So we're working on that. I
Correct.
Well, there's-
would rather know that was in place and done personally.
yeah,
I mean,
there-
that's,
But
you know.
the reason I saw it as an advantage to do it is because we're talking about Brockington, which that is a commercial corridor there. And whether or not it's, and that, remember, that's the Vision 2040. So what we're saying, we're changing the comprehensive plan, which is Vision 2040, saying we see this as a commercial lane. That's
Oh,
all this
I
is
agree
saying.
with it.
But that's all this is saying. That's all
I
this is
agree
saying.
with the plan, I agree with the potential future rezoning, but I want to understand what's going to happen to the people that are living there today, you know.
And that's when
and that's-
if the zoning comes to us, that's the time for that conversation, because that has nothing to do with this.
So
Yeah,
the
this is-
Vision
This is the
2040
vision.
is policy.
But-
Zoning is
You're
regulatory.
going to be hard pressed to say, I don't approve that rezoning when you've come sat here and said, I approve of the vision. And And that's my point. And-
I hear your point, I hear
I
you.
kind of would agree with Mr. Lilly in the fact, when I read those minutes, and you feel for some of those people, that it's, you
But
know,
it's-
it's like we're saying, we are trying to displace some people. It's just, I don't know.
But we
It's not zoned right now for multifamily. That's a different zoning for the RV park, and so there was concern at the planning commission meeting that apartments would go in there. This would, and that's what was on the Vision 40, were apartments there. And so this changes that Vision 40, that no, we're not looking at apartments there. There's nothing in the Vision 40 in terms of RV park there right now.
Can an
So,
And I would
Apartment
point
go
out
if
that we would have just as much difficulty voting against an apartment complex when that says in our Vision 2040 that apartments go there. It would be just as difficult to vote against that apartment complex zoning as it would to vote against the commercial zoning, as you're pointing out. And as long as that continues to say apartments on it, we're at risk of somebody going and buying that place. And remember, those are tenants. There's some owner that owns that thing. All those are rented lots. So there's some single owner that owns that big tract. And we're at risk of them taking a deal and selling it to an apartment developer. And then if we vote no, when it's in our Vision 2040 for that apartment, I'll guarantee you a lawsuit. I mean, it's just either way. And
Are
so I
we-
think if we get it off as quick as soon as possible.
Is it R1 right now, though?
It is. It's zoned R1 and it's actually a non-conforming use.
So how could apartments go in if it's zoned R1 right now?
Because we have a Vision 40 that says that our vision for that property is apartments. Is apartments. And we've adopted that, the council has adopted that. And so if they come and they ask for zoning for apartments, we can certainly vote it down.
See, if
but
you look on that map,
just about any judge is likely going to give it to them, because they're.
Current and
they're-
proposed.
Yeah, they're following what our Vision 2040 says for that property. So by getting apartments off that Vision 2040 as soon as possible, we lessen that risk.
Okay.
yeah.
I think, Beverly, you had a motion early on, didn't you?
I make a motion that we pass.
And I second.
Second.
Yeah, there was a motion in a second, and I wanted discussion, so
That's when it's proper.
there we
that
have
was
it.
good discussion.
That's when it's proper, isn't it?
All right. Roll call, please.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas. Sanders. Broderick.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Wade.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. We now have a resolution amending the comprehensive plan for Sherwood for the property located at 231 Newman Drive and for other purposes.
Okay, third and final, I'll be done after this. So this is a land use plan amendment for 231 Newman. This item has been before you the past 2 months. It started with an expansion of a non-conforming use, and then it came before you as a rezone. So it was rezoned last month from C4 to I1. So now this is just the attempt to make existing conditions compatible with the plan.
Move for the adoption.
Second.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas. Sanders.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Wade.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Street Committee, Councilmember Lilly.
Street Committee did meet. We had a really short agenda for October. Really one item of business that we voted on. Minutes should be in your packet. Anybody have any questions, concerns, thoughts? Okay. At this time, unless there is new or pressing business, the Street Committee is not intending to meet in November and December. There will be official cancellation sent out closer to those times, just in case something comes about that needs our attention. Thank you.
An ordinance fixing rates for services furnished by the sewer system of the city of Sherwood, Arkansas, and prescribing other matters pertaining thereto, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. And please go right ahead. The
Okay,
floor is yours.
I'm sure y'all have seen the packets y'all got today. Let's start with any questions on that. If there's any questions to bring up.
Lots of questions.
Yes, let's
Okay.
start from there.
Okay, first off, so this is what, 40% increase?
Yes, right off the bat, for the first year, January 1st, 2024, will be, if you looked at the packet, it would be, on an average household, it'll be like a $5.90 increase for the sewer bill.
I thought it was very wishful drafting when it said this proposal is a gradual increase over a 3-year period, and it will benefit both customers and the utility. I do see where it's needed, and but I don't see where it's gradual if we hit them with 40%.
Well,
Gradual is not 40%.
Well, at first, and if you look at 2025, it goes to $1.25 a year, then it got $1.77.
No, gradual is when you, that's not gradual.
Split the 40 between all 3 years, and maybe you could argue it was gradual, although it'd still be pretty steep.
I think you're right, Mr. Harmon.
Yeah, one situation I just want you guys to be aware of is that their reserves coming into this year were incredibly spent down. And so we had a situation where we had to take out of the general fund the previous year a substantial amount of money for repairs. Where it kind of gets into a sticky situation, if you look at the fact that we have an unusual wastewater situation where you've got Gravel Ridge is under a different commission. Part of the city is under North Little Rock Commission. Part of the city has a combination but is still under North Little Rock, and then you've got those that are under Sherwood. But we had to take money from the all because there weren't enough money with the reserves, because that's considerably lower than the people in the older part of town that are under North Little Rock's system. So is that really fair that you've got one section of town that gets lower rates, but then you have to take money out of everybody's in order to fix those things? When they came to me this year, they had, 2 items that needed to be fixed, but they only had enough money for one item. And so we're getting farther and farther behind on the Sherwood system when it comes to upkeep and maintenance and those type of things. And we're in a really weird situation where Sherwood, where you could have one house across the street has considerably higher rates than the other side of the street, depending if you're on North Little Rock or if you're on Sherwood. And so it's my understanding, and when they came to me to talk about this, is that what they're trying to do is the bulk of the city is on the North Little Rock, to bring that up so it's more levelized, and that would bring up the reserve so that they could actually keep it in good working condition.
Because we haven't had a rate increase since 2016. So with the inflation over the years, it'd be eating our budget up. I mean, yes, we can operate the budget, but that's all we can do. We don't have anything for reserve, for emergencies or for any projects upgrades we need to do with the plants or any rehab. So this is the reason why we need to be able to meet some of our needs in our future and everything. That's why that packet, it kind of show you what some of the projects that we need that in the next 10 years that we want to have to address.
Can you remind us where the Sherwood system is located?
Well, we got 2 systems.
We know the North Little Rock system's in the older part of the city.
Right, and we got some Sherwood there too. It's what we call the satellite system, which is a shared collection system. And we got Sherwood customers there, and we actually pay North Little Rock for treatment for that part of Sherwood.
So like where I live, Marina, for example, on, Brockington Road, we're under Sherwood. Indian Head is under Sherwood.
Yes.
Austin Lakes is under Sherwood. Gap Creek is under
Gap Creek,
Sherwood.
Miller's Crossing.
Miller's Crossing's under Sherwood.
Miller's Glen and all that.
So all most of the newer areas
Yes.
are
Correct.
Sherwood.
Yes.
So, Councilmember Harmon, isn't that what we had a sales tax increase raise, or Councilmember Lilly, you were on the council then.
Well, I don't know whether I'm Lil or Harmon or who I am tonight, so.
No, but you were on the council then. We did the sales tax increase, and that was for the Sherwood system.
For the
Was that-
Sherwood system to.
Well, I was actually on the wastewater committee. I was not on the council at that time. That took place quite a while back. But, so, I mean, for clarity, yes, there was a sales tax that has sunset some time ago. A lot of that money, was used to rehabilitate the existing system as well as purchase what was then the Pickthorn treatment plant, which now is called South Plant. You'll see that on the last page of your financial statement, it says Statement of Revenues and Expenditures, Sales Tax. If I understood correctly from our finance director, those are the dollars that are left in that sales tax that was in place for the purchase of Pickthorn and then used for rehabilitation of existing collection systems. So, you know, for clarity, we do have a hodgepodge of networks within the city for wastewater, but there's only one fund, okay? There's only one wastewater fund. There's not different, you know, funds out there, so everything comes out of the same bucket of money. There is no question that there are expenses, et cetera, that need, you know, rate increases. I am and captured in notes or minutes from wastewater meetings, I am opposed to wastewater treatment increase in fees just to match somebody else's fees. I don't think that's the way we need to do that, and we need to base it off of needs within the wastewater utility itself. So, you know, what you've got in front of you, and I can't really explain it verbatim. I think it's on page 3 of your handout is a view of what the manager sees as future needs within the program. So, you know, that's you know, comes out to 8.9 without trying to add all that stuff up. I think some of that can be spread over time, as the first one shows. I mean, that's a 10-year project, and I don't believe they've started that yet or have a firm, you know, this is going to start on X date. Scott, you may know better than that.
No, not exactly. We started to work with them to clean the lines, to make it accessible for the inspection. But as far as the rehab on that, no, it has not officially started on that.
Okay.
We're still doing a lot of prep work to get it.
Sure.
Get it started.
And then the South Plant closure, you know, that was, you know, running hard and heavy prior to a change in the administration. And, you know, we were getting really close. We had, you know, most of our easements in place to start redoing, you know, basically rerouting what was going to the South Plant to the North Plant. At that point, that South Plant would be completely closed down. It's old, it's inefficient, and it's just problematic. So, but that's been in the long-term plans for the wastewater for a number of years. So, you know, but that too is not an immediate going to happen in 2024, 2025, you know, timeframe. That's going to happen over several years. So I say all that to say that I agree that 40% in 1 year is quite a big jump, you know, to anybody who might be on a fixed income or you know, be looking at, you know, an additional, you know, $6 a month. I mean, I don't know how many people that actually impacts. But anyone that's on a fixed income, you know, would say that's quite a big jump. So, you know, with that, I mean, I don't know what else I can share with anybody on the council, you know, about the proposal. I didn't write it. I didn't, you know, bring it before you. I would say that a large majority of the people that are paying Sherwood for their wastewater, they do pay the minimum, and that minimum is, and Scott, if I say this wrong, correct me, but, it's based on a winter average, so that when, you're out, you're watering your lawn in the summertime, your wastewater is not, based on, your water usage in the summertime. It's based on the winter average, so you're not, paying more, because you're watering your grass,
Because typically in the wintertime, you use less water, and that's the whole idea. And that way, in the summertime, you won't get charged for treating water that you're not, like you're washing your car or you're watering your grass, because we're not treating that water.
And what we don't, I'm sorry, what we don't want to have happen, though, is they have a major repair that comes up, a major breakage, and there's no money available to fix it. They've been kind of living in fear now for quite some time that could happen.
Now, yeah, 40% seems like a whole lot, but if we put this off longer, it could be more.
Well,
40%.
I want to propose a compromise.
Okay.
Okay, I talked to Scott today because I had some questions, correct?
Right.
Because looking at what was in the balance, and I know he's got to buy, there's a piece of equipment that's been put off, he's going to have to get for the scanner, a bar scan.
Bar screen, yeah.
Screen, okay, I started with an S, so that's good. No one likes the concept of 40%, but if you actually look at the numbers, current rate's 375, trying to get to 750 in 3 years, okay? If you just take that increase you're trying to get, rather than have it 40%, 25%, 15%, you could actually do it gradually, an equitable rate of like 25% each year, which is $1.50 for a whole month, for whatever it would be. The $1.50 per 100 cubic feet. Is that how that is? So you get to the same amount. Your proposal front loads it, a whole bunch up front, and then it dwindles off. Where this would be a constant. You could actually do it, you're still right now starting at 375, you would actually get.
Well, actually, that 375 is after the minimum, which is 400. You're going to be charged the 400 minimum, everybody, no matter how much water you use, which is $15. That's how much you're paying now. Anything over 400 CFs, that 375 will be added onto it. That's going to be affected mostly commercial, because you have more than, because the household's got an inch or less. Anything more than an inch of service line will be charged. They don't fall under that winter month average, because that's just for residential areas, for households.
Will you tell us how much 40%, how many dollars is that? In the budget?
Well, your typical household will probably see a $5.90 increase.
I mean, in your budget, let's say it increased by 40%. How much more would your?
It was around, if I remember right, I did the numbers, it's right up here. It'll be around 1.8 million. Because right now, we're looking at, for now, we're looking at, I think right now we're getting around 1.7, 1.5, 1.6 just from the service charges.
So a $300,000 increase, not a 1.8 million increase?
Yes.
Well, it's more than 300, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more.
Well, it's a math teacher.
Well, I gotta find another thing.
Right now, we're at 1,814,000, and after the first year, 40%, we go to 2,499,000, 2,000,005, basically. So that's $700,000 increase roughly.
And the goal is to get to, did you do that, Beverly?
Just a second.
Yeah, right now, we're doing 1.8. That's how much.
That's right, a
That's what we
38%
typically
increase.
get.
So for 2023, the budgeted service charge was 1.777795. I mean, so almost 1.8. and there was, just under 700,000 in available reserves. That reserve is awfully slim, for sure, and certainly not enough to keep up with needs over the next several years. You know, again, how many rooftops do we charge that?
We got,
How many customers do we?
right now, it looks like we got 11,000.
11,000. So, yeah, so,
Scott, are
you
there
know,
concerns?
That's $660,000 over the course of a year, with a $5 bump per month is what that comes out to.
Are there any concerns in terms of regulations coming down the pike from the EPA that
Well, I
that
know.
you need to worry about?
Well, there are talk of the PFAS, which is, basically it has to do with toxicity, chemicals and whatnot. They're already going for the corporations who are putting it out, but they're looking at the treatment in the municipalities and see how they're going to enforce that, you know, on that. It means require more testing but that's going to be down the pike, you know, because they don't know how they're going to enforce it. But there's been a lot of talk about it, so eventually we'll want to have to address that. So, you know, and I don't know what that will look like for us in particular, you know, because nobody really knows, because we don't have any industry, you know, you know, on our system. But there's a lot of household that uses chemicals, cleaning supplies and stuff like that. Well, but it'd be minimum, but that I can't guarantee that, because I don't know how they're going to enforce it, or how, you know, or how much they're going to enforce it, and how tight is it going to be for us. So, you know, but like I said, that's just, be honest, I hope I'm retired by the time they really.
How much
You got
did
30
we have
years,
to
Scott.
spend on that one repair where we had the, over there by 5 Mile, 3 Mile?
Oh, you're talking about over by Tractor Supply? I don't know the exact number, but it was well over 200,000, I'm sure. You know, I can't remember the exact how much it cost, but yes, it was I think it was a 30-inch line that we had. It was a shared line between North Little Rock and us, and our part was around 200,000 on that and everything, because it was caused a big sinkhole under 167, so, you know, it had to be addressed.
And that was the one that we had to take out of the general fund because they didn't have enough
Right.
at that point in reserves. And I just don't think it's fair to have to take out of the general fund because one section of the community has lower rates than the rest.
See, and we've got 5 more inceptors that we're working with North Little Rock that we're going to have to, we share off the satellite system, and that's going to be, the whole project's going to be a little over $5 million. Our part is around 2.4, I believe, or something like that, for our part. And North Little Rock's going to be doing most of the heavy lifting. They're going to do the engineering work and all that. All we have to do is just pay for our part and everything, because they'll do the bidding out and all that, and everything. Because the satellite system, it's a unique, because we're about the only one in the state of Arkansas that has a satellite, that shared system like that. So this is kind of, Sherwood and North Little Rock is going to have to learn to work together on that collection system, even though we've got some lines that we maintain, there's some that they do, but those interceptors, that's where it goes into the 5 Mile Creek, and we both use those, share those. And the thing is, if they start doing that, we don't have any money to cover our part of the cost and everything. That was another thing, which those are going to be in the next 10 years, what they're going to, it's going to be spaced out, so it's not going to be one big lump sum.
So
but
It's complicated.
One of the things that I shared with Scott today when I called him about it is that if you look at the budget that you got from Colleen, it appears that, they still have a balance of like $1.2 million, okay? But this one piece that he shared with me, so I was sitting there, the reason I called, I said, you're asking us to raise something, and you got a $1.2 million balance. You have only used 50% of what's in your operating budget. So I couldn't justify that. I can't defend, how can I raise this with this kind of balance sitting here? Does that make sense? Obviously. So that's when he shared with me that the bar screen, was it screen again? Yes, the bar screen, which is in his
It's in
capital expenditure budget, is about $450,000
$450,000
that he
right.
needs to buy. So that's going to bring that down,
Right.
obviously.
We're under contract for it. We just, they haven't
Hadn't been
delivered it.
delivered and hadn't been paid for.
Yeah, so it'd be probably February when we actually have it on site, so.
And so,
And there were
that's
engineering costs with that, and
Yes.
so, I
And-
mean,
and then the
it's
chemicals.
been all eaten up
installation,
very
I mean, that's
quickly.
just for the bar screen. Bar screen's like 300,000, and we'll have to do another, bid another contract out to have a contractor come in and install it for us.
so I wasn't in favor of this. I mean, not that I was against it. He needed to sell me as to why with this kind of balance, we'd even consider an increase.
Well, and I've got a problem with the increase. I've got the problem with the rate increase. I liked your previous proposal about it goes 20.
Why not just
If
25%?
700, right, if $700,000 is 40%, then 25% is going to be in the neighborhood of $500,000, am I correct? 450,000 to 500,000?
Close, yes.
And so, and that's just, that's on the first year. And another thing, and I had emailed Scott about this, his conservative revenue figures, if you notice, once he hits something, it never increases. It assumes no new housetops, no new customers, nothing. It assumes no growth. We are assuming 3% growth in expenditures and no growth in revenue. And I think that's a little overly conservative because I think the revenue is going to grow. We're going to have increased housetops. We're going to have increased
hope
usage.
so.
Yeah, increased usage. And so if you go to the 25% and then you
Just
consider
across the
fact
board
that-
for 3 years, could that work, Scott?
Okay, well,
I'm asking.
well, yeah, but the growth part is, it's a little bit more tricky in that, because I know looking past, we see a little growth on some years and some years we don't, Inflation, it's not like inflation is going on the cost side, it's always going to happen. So, because I know on the wastewater, because if we ask for a piece of equipment or a quote, and then we wait a year, we're going to have to ask for another quote because the prices already went up.
Of course.
On that and everything. So that's why it was easier to do the 3% on the cost side. And on the growth side, it was like, well, that's going to be a little tricky because I don't know. I just played it safe and just used what I know for guaranteed what money we will have,
So is it fair to say, do you need time to look at the numbers if we do it 25% increments to see if that's going to meet the immediate needs? I mean, do we need to table this till next month?
Well,
while we
I'll
see
be
the-
perfectly honest with you. Any kind of rate increase will help. I mean, right now, I
Pretty
can.
desperate.
Yeah, I mean, I can live with 25% in the next 3 years,
But every year, 25%,
Yeah,
which would be
yeah.
the same amount at
Right.
the end of the third year, you just don't have it, you're not front-loading it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Do you have a need right now that you need the front load?
No, not really. I mean, 25, I think for what we could need, 25% could more likely cover anything that we have immediately.
It's just they don't know if there's any unforeseen, they
We
don't have the
our
reserves for
glass
it.
ball.
Right.
Right, and I think that's why they
Well,
did
Real
it
quick,
the way
going
they
back to
did it.
the
But
growth you were talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of that growth's gonna be on the Gravel Ridge sewer system too.
The north side.
The north side. And
Oh.
That's where the majority of it's gonna be, and they just finished redoing their system, which is supposed to handle, that
Right.
growth.
I mean, I just threw some numbers out there.
Well, hopefully we'll buy that one too at some point and get everybody, at one point when that tax was passed, when he was on the commission and the tax was passed, it put everybody in Sherwood under one of two systems. You were either on Sherwood or you were on North Little Rock.
That's what-
And it eliminated all that piecemeal of.
That was
those
the
piecemeal
plan.
systems. That was the plan.
But that
And-
was long before Gravel Ridge.
Gravel Ridge,
And-
yes,
and
we
they
continued to
they
move
have
north.
to want to sell, and they've just accumulated a lot of
Well,
debt.
speaking as a
So-
sponsor of the ordinance that condemned North Hills Country Club, I would say, maybe they have to want to sell, maybe they don't.
When was the proposed closure date for the south plant, Kevin? I mean,
I don't know that we ever had a specific closure date. Again, I know we were, running hard and heavy at it, and it just kind of came to a halt. I don't think there's anyone really managing it at a project level. So, I don't know that there's a firm date set out there. I mean, we're still working through, I think there was a handful of easements left that Richard had that he was trying to get completed. And, quite honestly, that's a whole basket of stuff that really needs to be sorted through.
Yeah, and
But-
you got to have money for those easements too, so
That-
that was part of the problem.
And
That was a
yes.
several year down the road thing because
That's,
we've got to
that's
put
one of the
in-
reasons why we kind of put it on hold, because we didn't have the money for the easements. And that, without the
well-
easements, we couldn't do anything else.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not gonna argue with you. We had a plan in place, I say Richard had a plan in place to, once the easements was purchased, we would have to put in the pipe that basically goes from south plant to north plant, so all of that product could be delivered. And that's several years in, down the road. That's not a next year thing.
How about to see how the council feels? I make a motion, we adopt Councilmember Williams' proposal of 25, 25, 25 in lieu of the front-loading at 40.
So you want to amend the ordinance then? Okay. Is there a second for the amendment?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Minus, wait,
What?
minus the emergency clause.
I mean, I just want to make sure we're not harming anything that he needs to get done if he needs to front load some of that.
Yeah. The emergency clause, I would say that you have billing delays. Whenever we do anything, billing through a utility, it takes us 90 to 120 days to get it implemented and the money to start flowing. So I think the emergency clause is
And
necessary.
honestly, Councilmember Williams, I mean, that's where you would need a crystal ball. I mean,
yeah.
we don't know. We know that if anything big happens,
Then he's going to have to come back to us and ask for another rate increase.
and then there'll be a delay. There's just not, if there's not
Yeah.
emergency money.
Well,
So we're calling the roll on the amendment?
Yes.
yes.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas, Sanders,
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
An ordinance fixing rates for services furnished by the sewer system of the city of Sherwood, Arkansas, and prescribing other matters pertaining thereto, declaring an emergency and for other purposes as amended. That's the first reading.
Maybe we suspend the rules and place it on second reading.
Second.
Roll call.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas, Sanders, Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
An ordinance fixing rates for service furnished by the sewer system of the city of Sherwood, Arkansas, and prescribing other matters pertaining thereto, declaring an emergency and for other purposes as amended. Second reading.
Maybe we
Move to
suspend the rules.
rules
Go ahead.
and place it on third reading as amended.
Second.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas, Sanders,
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
An ordinance fixing rates for service furnished by the sewer system of the city of Sherwood, Arkansas, and prescribing other matters pertaining thereto, declaring an emergency and for other purposes as amended. Third reading.
Move for the adoption.
Second.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders,
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders,
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
No.
Wade, Williams,
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Okay, passes 7-1. A resolution amending the 2023 general fund budget and for other purposes. If I could please have our finance director. Whoa. It's been a long meeting, so I gotta wake up.
Make a quiet entrance there, Colleen.
He's still here. I see him. He's in the back row.
Mayor, council members, this is a budget amendment to amend the budget related to debris removal and monitoring expenses incurred related to the March 31st tornado. When we first amended the budget, that was in April, and so it was an estimate based on, projected expenditures. So as debris removal has concluded and we're receiving billings, this is an amount that is reflective of the cost that we believe that we have incurred. And we will expect to receive reimbursement from FEMA as we're going through that process.
How long does it take to get the FEMA reimbursement? From this point,
Right, it can depend, varying, we have multiple different projects, so we have two projects pending related specifically to debris removal. One is for the 100% reimbursement period, and then one is related to the 75% reimbursement window. And so both of those projects have been submitted, and we've received some questions that we've answered, and then now Adam, Division of Emergency Management, also reviews that information. There's a workbook that we have to submit, and then once they review that, then my understanding is that it can be, anywhere from 30 days to 90 days, but it could potentially be longer.
It's one of those crystal ball things. Government just kind of moves.
We just need to
it.
start bringing one, put it in here.
Yeah.
So the total amount we're asking to be reimbursed is how much?
Well, it varies based on each project. So, for example, related just to debris removal, now this doesn't include like the force account labor or equipment rental, or the use of our own equipment, which would be, costs that we've already incurred in other places throughout the budget. So, just related to invoices from our monitoring company, our debris removal company, and then other invoices that we paid to various vendors, to purchase chainsaws, to rent equipment that we didn't have, that kind of thing. The total for all of those things so far is about $1,130,000. And then that would be split in between, the 100% cost share and the 75% cost share. And then within that 75% cost share, there's a 3-day window where the state is going to reimburse us 25%.
Question, Ms. Colleen.
Mm-hmm.
Back in April, we put the $750,000 in a line item for our tornado relief.
Yes.
So the wording on this whereas, to allocate an additional $390,000, is that going to go in that same line item?
Yes.
So it's taking that $750 we already had and add the $390, okay.
Correct.
Just want to clarify
Yeah,
that.
so we're trying, we'll track everything within that one line item.
Okay.
Any other questions? Pleasure of the council. Do we have a motion?
Move for the adoption of the resolution.
And we hope this is a flow-through account, right?
Yes.
In and out,
Yes.
or out and in.
Lilly,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Sanders,
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Brooks,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Under old business, because it comes up year after year after year, we wanted to go over some of the new changes in the health insurance. I think this is pretty exciting. Charlie, if you can come on up, we've never had so many innovative options for our city employees, and some members of council will be particularly interested in the third option. So,
May I have 2 minutes to prep, please?
yes.
Thank you.
What do you say? I'm going to set it up.
Maybe
While we're waiting to do that, sir, would you like to come up and go ahead and address the council while they're getting the information on it? Can you call him up?
Mr. Alan Bowen?
3
3
minutes.
minutes.
I'll make it quick, I thought it was 5, so.
And thank you for your patience tonight.
Yeah, I've lived in Sherwood most of my life, but here lately, between the lowering of the speed limit, the speed cushion, and parking on the streets. So I guess my biggest pet peeve in this city is people parking on the street. When I took my driving test about 40 years ago, there was a question, you couldn't park your car on the street. The outside wheel couldn't be no more than 18 inches off of the curb. Most of your vehicle has ordinance. Now, there's state laws, you can't park 50 foot of a fire plug, you can't park 50 foot of an intersection. You're not supposed to park on the crest of a hill or where there's limited sight distance. So why do we allow parking on the street? If there's a double yellow line, I am not legally allowed to cross that double yellow line. We have sidewalks for pedestrians to be on. And I can understand that's for people to walk. Cars belong in driveways or in their yards. They have driveways. But there's too many times going up and down these streets, I see people parking in the road, and there's no excuse for it. When I had a single car driveway and I had 2 vehicles, if I wanted car number 1 out, I would pull car number 2 out, put the flashers on, and I would shuffle them out, put car number 2 in place, and then drive car number 1 out. But that's too much trouble for so many people. But I made it work. Later, I put in a circle driveway. It's no problem now. Speed limit. I've been seeing speed limits drop. I live on Sherwood Avenue. Back a long time ago, Victory Baptist had a school, and our speed limit dropped from 25 to 20 because of that school. Hasn't been there in over a decade. I wonder why it's still a 20 mile an hour. 20 is too slow for a residential area. 25 is too slow for a residential area. I want to see all the speed limits in this city 30 or 35, unless it has Sherwood Elementary, Sylvan Hills Elementary, or Clinton Elementary on that street. Children present, slow down for them. Unless that street does not have a sidewalk on it.
You have 30 seconds, sir.
But if you've got a sidewalk on it, I do not want to see a 20 mile an hour speed limit in this city at all. Speed cushions. During the week of the day of the tornado, trying to get out of my property in Gravel Ridge, I came through Indian Head and I hit the first speed cushion. Cushion implies something soft. I was doing 20 miles an hour, making sure I didn't hit no debris, hit my first speed cushion. I cracked my radiator.
Sir, your time has expired.
I cracked my radiator on my 2500 Silverado 2004 truck. Please remove them. I don't want to see them.
Thank you for your time. Is the presentation ready? Okay. It is 25,
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Good evening. How is everyone tonight? My name is Charles Angel. I am the Employee Benefits Consultant for the City of Sherwood, and wanted to come talk to you guys tonight for a little while about some options that we're going to have for our medical plan for our employees. As you all know, in the past, Arkansas Municipal League has been our health provider as long as I've been involved with Sherwood's benefits, and there's really only been one plan design option available to the city's employees. This year, through some work that's been done over the course of the summertime, we've been able to secure 3 separate benefit options for the employees. The first thing that we've done is on our traditional copay plan. You guys may or may not be aware of this, but really the copay was an access fee when it came to Arkansas Municipal League. So that $20 copay that you would pay would cover everything that was done at the doctor's office as long as they didn't basically use any durable medical equipment. So if you had an x-ray done or if you had a strep test or a flu test, the employee would actually be balance billed for that, and it would go towards deductible and co-insurance. So,
Mr. Angel, can we
Yes,
blow
ma'am.
this up a little bit?
I can sure give it a shot.
I can see municipal health, and that is all I can see. Thank you very much.
How's that? Better? Maybe a little fuzzy, I apologize. So, the one thing that's going to change with our copay is going to be, at this point, it will cover everything that is done in the doctor's office. It will stay $20 at the primary care, at the specialist, and at the urgent care, but anything done completely within that doctor's office will be covered, and the employee will not be balance billed. So we see that as a big step forward for our employees, and hopefully remove a barrier to care, where people might have been concerned about getting lab work done or getting some minor imaging done because of the balance bill that might come out of that. We'll be able to offer 2 copay plans this year, as opposed to the one that was traditionally allowed. We'll offer a $500 copay and a $500 deductible and a $1,200 deductible, both under the copay plan. The third option is going to be what's called a qualified high deductible health plan. That's what's listed under HDHP on your screen. I wish the IRS had called it something different, because that's kind of a scary name, but that's what they elected. So the qualified high deductible health plan will be offered with a health savings account tied to it. The point of that plan is to allow members to build up a bank over time that is filled with some employer-paid dollars and some pre-tax dollars out of their own check if they so choose. Operates much like a flexible spending account that employees have access to now, except the money belongs 100% to employees. They can keep that money. Every penny rolls over year after year. If they leave the city, if they retire, they can take that account with them. It can always be spent for them or anyone in their family on qualified medical, dental, or vision expenses. The downside to the HDHP, and this is IRS guidelines, not municipal health, not JTS, not the city of Sherwood, is there's no first dollar coverage. So in plain English, that means no copays. Everything goes directly to deductible and then co-insurance. Not all employees will elect this plan, but again, this year employees will have 3 different health plans from which to choose. I'm on a qualified high deductible health plan personally. We have an option at JTS Financial, where I work. I can choose a copay plan or a qualified high plan. I've chosen the qualified high. My wife is a teacher at Jacksonville North Pulaski School District. She's offered the same choices. She's on that plan. Again, it's not for everyone, but we were younger when we initially made those choices. Those times are kind of getting behind us now, but we were able to build up quite a bit of, a decent amount of funds in our HSA. So at this point, we're not that concerned about a deductible because we have enough in our health savings account to pay our deductible, if that type of some questions for me as well. But the real thing that I want to focus on here is, for the first time since I've been involved, Sherwood employees will have a choice in which plans that make sense for them and their family.
So,
Are these all through municipal league?
Yes, ma'am.
so the HSA will not be available except through the high deductible plan, is that correct?
That is correct. IRS regulations only.
And then it gives them a health savings plan that gets contributed to by the city. And if you are young and really healthy, that could be a really good plan for you. I wouldn't, at my age, that wouldn't be a good plan for me, so.
Yeah, she's talking about.
Absolutely, Mike, it's all about you. One thing that I personally really like about it was the fact that when I go to the doctor, I almost always have to have like ongoing, blood tests like every 3 months. I'll put it out there because of thyroid. And those lab costs are expensive. And I love the fact that now I just pay $20. and I don't have to pay all those other expenses. And I think most people kind of fall under those lab things, or if you go to urgent care, you're probably going to be tested for flu, for COVID, for strep, all those things all have separate charges. You don't have that now, so you don't have that worry.
There's one thing I'd like to warn on there, Mayor. If your doctor sends out your blood work to a separate lab, to Quest, to LabCorp, something that goes outside your doctor's office, that can still be billed towards deductible and coinsurance. It's just things that are actually done inside the physician's office.
So we need to find those physicians.
What's the difference again in enhanced and traditional, the primary difference?
The primary difference is strictly what we had, we called it a copay. It was really an access fee to the physician. This is going to be a true copay, where those things like the mayor was speaking of will be completely covered by that copay. Yes, sir, which is what will be. Yes, sir.
Many doctor's offices even have x-ray machines now. Now, they're not going to have an MRI or a CT scan, but break your arm, go to urgent care, it's all included.
There's one other thing that I would like to point out with municipal health that is, I think, going to be a huge difference for employees, maybe even more so than the choice of health plans here. One thing with Municipal League that we've seen for a long time was we really struggled with out-of-state coverage. There are some networks outside, some facilities in network outside of Arkansas, but not nearly enough. Beginning January 1st, for no additional charge, all Municipal League plans riding the First Health Aetna network. This will show us legitimate coverage in all 50 states and add an additional 1.1 million providers to our in-network list.
Cool.
Do y'all have any other questions for him?
Good news.
Yeah, it is good news. That's all good news.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can come back anytime.
This is October, the month of insurance changes.
Yes, yep. So make sure you make your appointments too, and make sure you get your, all your stuff in if you'd like to make changes. Is there anything else under old business or new business? There be. Yes, sir.
Are we running on Saturdays? Are they working every Saturday? I got a call.
Yes, sir.
I got a call from a resident saying, they had a garage sale, put up garage signs, and then I asked them if it was in a right of way, and said, yeah, it probably was, or really close. Are they working every Saturday now? Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Are we picking up signs like that are in the right of way? Do what? That man right there is picking up signs.
Yeah, typically they are not picked up. So like if your garage sale's on Saturday, they'll be picked up Sunday morning. If your garage sale's on Sunday, they're picked up Sunday night or Monday morning. We hope that people, and I think people are getting better about picking their own signs up, but that way they're not, littering everything. So there was an incident a while back, and that was changed that one time.
I told him I'd ask.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, under announcements, we've got a whole lot of events coming up and announcements. The ones in October, I want to highlight. You've got the Shred-a-thon coming up at the Senior Center parking lot from 9 a.m. to noon on the 28th. Also, you've got the Sherwood PD drug take-back at St. Vincent's Hospital and at the Walmart neighborhood market parking lot between 10 a.m. and 2. Leaf season, it's begun, and so we've got the leaf vacuuming will begin. You've got the November 3rd Fall Bash at the Duran Youth Center from 6 to 8. Should be lots of fun for the families. Don't forget, we will be closed on November 10th. We are having a November 9th. Many years ago, we used to have the Veterans Day Parade, and that was very onerous on the military community. And so there's been a lot of asking if we could have something. So what we're going to be doing is on November 9th, there's going to be prayer and fellowship for our veterans and anybody else who'd like to come and support them. We're going to do, that will be held at the Sherwood Police flagpole at 8 a.m. The speaker will be one of our many veterans, Chief Hager. And then there will be a reception following at the Jack Evans Senior Center with coffee and pastries. Those are all I'll go over for right now because there's a lot of them. So please, we post everything online and on Facebook, and spread the word because we have lots of events coming up. So, do we have a motion for adjournment? Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Adjourned.